Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zero Hakathos with Demonosophy and Beyond. Today I am doing a book review, and this is The Seven Spheres by Rufus Opus. Alright, I got this off of Amazon. Can't remember how much it was, but it's worth the money, okay? Don't sleep on Amazon just because a book is affordable doesn't mean that it doesn't have good information. And just because a book is expensive doesn't mean that it's going to have relevant information. Okay? With that said, this is a book of soul alchemy. This is about transformation, and it takes from both the Hermetic arts as well as Kabbalistic aspects. Um, I like the way that the book is presented. It looks very simple on, the outside. And green is not my color. It's actually very ugly to me, but, you know, I'm worried about the information inside. You know what I'm saying? So just because a book looks a certain way, don't judge it by its cover. Um, One thing about soul alchemy is whether you do it, whether you are on the dark side or the light side, like going through the cliphotic tree and going through the abyss. These things bring things up to the surface that cause you to feel a type of way. Okay, soul alchemy and the whole reason why we practice magic is for soul ascension, but it's very hard. It can be very stressful. It can be a shock because when we come into this world, we are taught one way, and the soul alchemy kind of breaks that down and throw it out, and we need time to process that. It's very hard to process that. So when you work on books like this that are actually about real magic and teaching you real truths, um, there are some people who become suicidal because of the things that are brought to the surface. Um, there are things about life that become very stressful because of things that are brought to the surface. But when these things are brought to the surface, it's meant for us to deal with these things, to overcome these things so that we become better people. Okay. Um, when it comes to suicidal ideation, that is not the goal of working through this. Okay, these entities come to us to challenge us to build a better world. To say, hey, like you see the loop that's going on, why don't you change it? Not to off yourself. Um, with that said, let's get into the introduction to the book. So, the introduction to this book establishes the fact that you are royalty. It says that it's going to use king, but in this sense, it is gender neutral. And the way this book is written is of a king or a royal person um, establishing their authority over their kingdom, figuring out what they need in order to build up their kingdom and maintain it. And that kingdom is going to be your sphere of influence. It doesn't matter where you go because you affect the world. Therefore, whatever you affect is part of your kingdom. So, in this book, it talks about the seven spheres, which correspond with the days of the week. And these are like the classical planets. So you have the moon, the sun, you have Mars, you have Jupiter, you have Saturn, you have Venus, and then you have Mercury. Okay, so um, it talks about how the different planets correspond with the days and the different energies that each planet has. And in this book, it talks about how our energy, before forming in its corporeal form, goes through these seven spheres, takes bits and pieces of the energy from each sphere, which composes us, before densifying Is that a word? Well, becoming more dense and becoming what we perceive ourselves to be right now. Anyway, so in this book, it has a certain order that it goes into because it's kind of like, okay, you have to assess your kingdom, you have to establish your authority, then you have to do X, Y, and Z, step by step. However, if you do not do it in the exact order that this book um, gives to you, that is okay. There have been people who have reviewed this book who have done it out of order. They said they still get results. There are people who've done it in order and said they get results. My thing is that when you do magic, it bypasses space and time. Also, if you talk to these entities and they understand what you are trying to do, they will give you what you need at the time that you need it. So let's say that, you know, you do something on Wednesday, but this book wants you to start on Thursday, which is Jupiter. You do something on Wednesday. So those entities may tell you something, but they may just acknowledge the fact that you've communicated to them what you need. And then after you've done Thursday, and then let's say you get to the step where you're supposed to work on Wednesday, then that knowledge can be given to you, where you come to an understanding of how it fits within, that situation. So, anyway, this book is good because first it goes over the different planets that you'll be working through and what they're good for. It even gives a kind of warning about how these different energies can affect you and how there are pros and cons. Um, a lot of people who were on Amazon said that this gentleman, I'm assuming this person is a gentleman, wrote that Saturn is the planet for expansion. However, I didn't see that. And they did mention that Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So when you read bad reviews, just keep in mind to take them with a grain of salt. Like that person probably took the time to read it, but didn't read it in a wise manner. They just read it to critique it. That person may not have gotten results because they rushed through it, you know. Just when you buy a book, judge for yourself. You know what I'm saying? We get caught up in all these ratings and stars and stuff like that. We don't know these people who are giving these ratings. Okay, so if you know somebody who has like a similar understanding that you do, then that may hold weight. But when it comes to reviews on Amazon, we don't really know these people. Um. Anyway, so it goes through the different planets and how the energies affect us. It gives examples of how we physically display these energies. Like with Mars energy, you have martial arts. Okay, so that is a display of Mars energy. Um, for me, there were three ways that this energy manifested. Okay, so this is celestial magic along with angelic magic. Um, when you do the ritual, in my personal experience, you can either talk to the archangel of that sphere, you can talk to the intelligences of that sphere, or you can just interact with the energy of that sphere. Okay. So the archangel may tell you something. The intelligences could tell you something, but you could also have like, let's say like visions where you're interacting with these intelligences of the energetic sphere. Then there are some spheres where you just feel the energy, and it causes you to either think differently or act differently. And then certain information may come to you at a later point that may involve that energy, but it's not given to you in a sense like it's a vision or it's even of an entity. It's more like an epiphany or a feeling. Um, so the rituals were not that hard to put together. When it came to doing the rituals, you had to find the day for the spirit you were working in, as well as the hour. So the book tells you how to find the day and the hour. And what you do is you start the ritual at this hour of the specific day you're working on. You had a pretty simple setup. Now, the book gives you a kind of complex setup. Okay. As you can see, it has you doing all this and all that with the triangle and making a wand and stuff like that. That is not necessary. Okay. If you want to be fancy and get into all that, that's fine. But it's not necessary. Okay. A lot of us working class magicians, like we like to see about keeping it simple. Okay. So it does list that there are things that could increase your focus on your intent when it comes to ritual. And so these things would be attire. And when it comes to attire, you want to wear something that you're going to be comfortable in, but also something that may reflect the energy that you're working with. For example, with Martian energy, if you wear something that has to do with that, like a gi, or wear something red, then that would help you to kind of channel that Martian energy. There's alcohol. However, if you have problems drinking alcohol or you don't, have access to alcohol because you're of a certain age, and I'm not encouraging people who are underage to buy alcohol to even go through this. But it may happen. But if for whatever reason you do not feel comfortable with using alcohol or cannot use alcohol, then you don't need to. That's optional. The attire is also optional. It also talks about the cigar of choice and how tobacco can help you tap into these things. And historically, when it comes to certain civilizations, tobacco is a sacred plant. It helps us to tap into that those energies, kind of like for some people like marijuana. It is a sacred herb, and therefore it is good for ritual, but it's not necessary. If people have problems smoking or have problems with the smell of tobacco, this is not necessary. But it does help put you in that trance state. Got planetary incense. Now, I think incense kind of puts you in a magical mood, so I did use this during some rituals. Now, to be honest, I did not do the same type of ritual while working through this. I did incorporate my own, other types of magic. But for those who are not advanced in such ways, just stick to the book. The way the ritual is, it works. It talks about planetary incense. Yes, use the incense. I did use the incense. I did get results from using the incense. Mood music, optional. For me, I feel like silence is better because it helps you to focus on what you are receiving. And we are bombarded by sounds and stimulation so much in our life that I feel like being in silence is better anyway. Layman of the Archangel. Okay, so a layman. Let me give you an example. I went to Michael's, which is a crafting store, and I got one of these cardboard circles that you put cakes on or something. And then what I did was I got a pen that I think you call it a compass, where it helps you draw a perfect circle, and some rulers and some pencils and stuff like that, so that I could make the layman. I know the lighting is terrible, but I'll show you the example in the book. Okay, so this is like a seal, maybe, that helps you tap into the angel. What you do is you create a necklace. So what I would do is I have like leather and a string that I cut that I can put around my neck, and I put tape on the back of it and then tape this to the necklace. That way I could take it off and then use another one later. Um, it does help you tap into the energies. However, this is not how I would usually work because it has the name of the tetragrammaton on it, and I feel some type of way about the tetragrammaton. I'm still up in the air about what I'm learning about it, so I only used it for the sake of seeing if it works while working through this book. Now let me see if I can find an example in this book of what it looks like. There we go. That's a better looking example. Also, while it has you create this and put this around your neck, it also comes with some other symbols corresponding with the planet and the day that help you to focus, that you would put on your altar. Okay, so you have your incense, you have a candle, and with the candle you use to create a circle. It's a white candle. You can use the same candle over and over again because it is for the same type of ritual, I feel. Even though the energies differ, some people may say, hey, I want to use a different candle for each ritual. That's also fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so what you do is when you're ready to do the ritual and you have everything that you need, you turn to the back, and the back has the ritual preparation for each planet. And so you'll find the planet that you're working in, and then you'll find the picture of the layman. You create the layman, and then you also find the sigils for that day and that planet. So you create those. I put those on, index cards, and those you would put on your altar to focus on during meditation. You would also have the candle to the side, which you would pick up to create your circle and then put back down on your altar. Let's see. To the side, it talks about the different types of tobacco that you can use, the different types of alcohol that you can use, suggestions on what to wear, tells you about the planetary incense. Okay, so it gives you a breakdown of what else you'll need in order to build energy in that ritual for that certain planet. It's very good to prepare. When it came to the layman's, I would like to create all of them kind of around the same time. Sometimes if you don't have a big attention span, you can break it up, but you do get caught in those things to where, like, once you get working, like, you get consumed by your work. So it's easier to just have what you need in order to be ready to do things the day you're going to do them than to have to do them last minute. Because I find like if I have to do things last minute, I'm lazy as hell and I just don't do it. Um, so, with that said about the book, it is very good. It even gives you, oh, I'm sorry, a script. So, an example of what to say during each ritual. And then, like, you just fill in the name of the angel and the intelligences that you're tapping into, what sphere you're working. What I did was I took these words, I figured out what I feel is more important to keep in, and then I changed or omitted what I felt was unnecessary, and it worked just fine for me. Okay, so what is important is saying what means something to you. It helps you with your intent. If it feels like filler, get it out. Okay. If you're a beginner, then just follow these words, and you'll still be okay. Um, it has hymns. I didn't use any of the hymns. It talks about the nature of talismans, what a talisman is. I didn't really go through these, but it provides different types of angel work dealing with talismans. Um, I just wanted to go through the planetary spheres, so this is extra for me. I did not do that, but it does look interesting. However, it involves a lot, like right here when it talks about the lunar talisman. Um, it's talking about how you may need camphor, cucumber, poppy, moonstone, a lot of stuff. And, like if you have worked magic before and you were in that mode where like, oh man, I'm going to go balls to the wall, I'm going to go all in. Sometimes you may come upon a grimoire that keeps you spending money on a lot of things because you feel like you need things in order to create magic. And like it adds up. Um Things are not necessary. So it's like when you're beginning and you are coming to an understanding, yeah, it's cool to use different things in ritual to help you focus. But once you're able to focus on your intent and what you want to do without that type of stimulation, it's not necessary. Um, so this part with the talismans and stuff like that, you can use the talismans to tap into these energies by just writing the sigils on the card. So you can see the sigils here. And you can probably tap into those energies and use them differently than talismans. You can even talk to these energies. There is the example of Jophiel, and I've talked to Jophiel before just by using the sigil and staring at it and meditating on it. Let's see. Okay. So with that said, this book, thumbs up. It's good to use if you are into celestial energies, if you are into angelic magic, if you are into soul alchemy and you want to work on the light side of things. Um, Angels do operate somewhat differently from demons. However, it's just two sides of the same coin, to tell you the truth. So, a lot of people, when it comes to this new age stuff, they think that angels are always nurturing and soft and warm and loving. because you have these weird gurus who tell people that because they tell people what they think they want to hear. It's not the truth whatsoever. Angels can be pretty hardcore, okay? And angels are not moral in the sense that you think they are. Um, Angelic magic can be used for good or for ill. So keep that in mind. Okay. So there are people who say if you give an angel a good enough reason, a logical reason for them to do something for you, they'll do it. They didn't say a moral reason, a logical reason. Okay. So when it comes to angel magic, um, it's not really about left or right. It's about how you perceive things. Um, and you can accomplish both good and bad with angel magic. It's not just a religious thing at all. I want to actually go over my personal experiences day by day. So when it came to what I did with the book, I started on Friday because I wanted to start right away. That was the day I could start. And like I said, I figured that what I need would kick in the time I needed. So Friday was the planet of Venus. And I had my ritual set up and I talked to the Archangel, Aniel. And Venus has to deal with love. And sometimes when you tap into these energies, they may give you information, but you may not really understand at the time why they give you the information the way they give it to you. I asked Anael how to receive the perspective of love, the perspective of a God, of love. So Anael says that I am afraid to open up to love all the way because I fear the pain that comes with it. Now, at the time, that didn't really directly answer my question, but when meditating upon what she said, it's fear that holds us back from positive change. It's fear that holds us back from realizing our potential. So I was told by other sources that when I do reach my potential, there would be no pain. So this fear of pain is kind of an illusion in a sense that I'm fearing, which is keeping me from reaching my potential. And the fear is what really causes the pain. So when I dismiss the fear, the pain goes away. So instead of fearing to love, one should just love without fear and let the positive things come. um and so that's how things translated to me for Friday. And it's like you get the information, okay? At the time you're like, I don't understand. And that's fine. As long as you remember it, because later on it kicks in. Let me see if I can find my notes. Okay, so Saturday was Saturn, and I actually skipped Saturday, but when I came back to it, Saturday is an energy that involves binding. A lot of people um, attribute Saturn to hexing and dark magic, but it's not necessarily so. While people fear it a lot for what it's portrayed as, there are aspects of Saturn that are actually helpful. In my case, when it came to Saturn, that binding helped me to kind of um, control the energies within me. Okay, sometimes we tap into energies and they feel overwhelming and they cause us to be all over the place. Saturn can actually be used to bind that energy to you and keep it all in one spot, to keep it contained. When I tapped into Saturn and I tapped into the intelligences, I didn't necessarily talk to the archangel of that sphere. Instead, I was mummified by the intelligences or the people who were involved with that energy and entombed. And in a way, you know, that could signify death, but it didn't necessarily signify death because when I came out of my trance state, I felt better. You know, where sometimes you can be confused, but like I felt the power within me, but I wasn't overwhelmed by it. It felt contained. And so it allowed me to do what I needed to on this level without having to bug out or space out too much. I was able to focus. Um, so Saturn was a very interesting sphere to go through. Let's see. So Saturday. So Sunday. Sunday was, of course, the sphere of the sun. And Michael was involved with that. Michael is the archangel of the sun. So that energy brings life. And it's like how light causes things to thrive. And I've spoken about how where light connects with atoms, it makes electrons more hyper. Therefore, it makes the atoms more dynamic. Um, So when you work with angel energy, sometimes you can feel a little bit robotic because some of the angels do come off as robotic. When I dealt with the energy of the sphere of the sun, I felt a little bit more human, a little bit more alive. Um, and that helped me to kind of feel more balanced. Um, Also, when I was tapping into the energies of the sun, um, that allowed me to understand the tetragrammaton. That is when I got the vision of what the meaning of tetragrammaton is, and to look that up and to research it and to talk about it. Um, and that is what the sphere of the sun provided for me. So, in okay, so I just noticed that this has little to do with understanding of how to set up your kingdom or anything. Like with my mindset, I just take the information as it's given, and that does change me within, which changes my world. Um, so it also changes my way of thinking, and when you change your way of thinking, that is when you change your reality. So that is how my kingdom is being built. Continuing on, so going to Monday. Monday, um, the angel Gabriel is the archangel of that sphere, and that's really the only part of the book that threw me off because I would expect Gabriel to be an archangel of Wednesday, which is Mercury, since he is associated with communication. However, you have to understand that these entities aren't one trick ponies. There's a lot that they can do. So they may be able to work in a different um, aspect than we would normally have them working. So when it came to Monday, Gabriel appeared in female form. Gabriel usually appears as a female for me. I don't know why. Um, I have talked about Gabriel before on my channel and how Gabriel did not come off as friendly to me. But that is getting better as I'm coming to an understanding of why angels do things that they do. As I'm coming to a better understanding of certain energies, I'm having better relationships with them. So uh, this time, Gabriel was more pleasant than usual. We'll put it that way. Um, so at the time when I was speaking with Gabriel, Gabriel told me that disappointment clouded my mind. Um, disappointment with how some things in magic felt anticlimactic to me. How disappointing the world around me can sometimes seem. It clouds your thinking and it kind of puts it in a certain lens, like a negative lens. Um, Gabriel also talked about how I was grieving for some of the things that I lost because of my pursuit of knowledge. Um, those of us who have been working magic for quite some time understand that very intimately. Where when you come to a certain understanding of the way the world is, and it's not the same way that your friends and family may view it, they may abandon you. Or circumstances may be where you just don't interact with those people anymore. They just disappear out of your lives. And sometimes you have the tendency to reflect on the good things within those relationships, the good emotions that have come from those interactions, but overall, they would not be beneficial for you because they would hold you back. Um, and I guess at this time, I know, I'm not guessing, I know. Um, there were moments when I would look back at things and kind of wish that I had those things, the same relationships, the same types of relationships with the same types of elements as the ones that I had in the past that um, I saw as good. But at the same time, those relationships were part of a lifetime where I did not truly know myself, where I was hooked on the wrong things and I was not doing anything to better myself. And so it's not good to dwell on those things or grieve those things, which was what Gabriel was trying to tell me. Let's see. So, Tuesday is the sphere of Mars. And with that, the archangel of Mars is Samael. Now, with Martian energy, It is known as the energy of war, aggressiveness, a very motivated energy. And whereas a lot of people would take Samael and be kind of fearful of the energy or see it as very aggressive in a negative way, um, the energy of Mars and Samael can have a positive application. Whereas if you're a lazy bastard, like I can be sometimes, then that energy motivates you to do what you need to do to soldier on because sometimes we get very tired, you know, and sometimes we're just like, we may know what we need to do, we may understand the goals that we have, but we're like, there's no more gas in the tank. Tapping into this Martian energy, tapping into Samael's energy gives you what you need, that second wind to soldier on. Um, for many people, Samael's energy can be very intense. Initially, when I started tapping into Samael's energy, it was very intense for me. But I've interacted with Samael so many times that where it still has a certain intensity, it's easier for me to deal with and process because I've dealt with it so many times. Um, so that is what Tuesday is all about. Okay, you set a goal, and then it creates order within your life where it kind of like gives you the energy to do what you need to do and also not ask questions. You know, like a lot of people, they get into thinking up problems to keep themselves from reaching their goal. When you tap into the Martian energy, that soldier energy is like, I have a mission. Don't ask questions. Get the mission done. So if you have any goals that you want to achieve, Martian energy is very good to tap into because it will light a fire underneath your ass. So the next is Wednesday, and Wednesday is the day of Mercury. I do not have here who the angel is of Mercury because I did not talk to the angel. Um, Instead, I was given an understanding of Mercury where things were communicated to me. Um, how Mercury could be used, as well as certain information. So, when it comes to Mercury, Mercury is the sphere of dreams, imagination, um, communicating ideas, creation, nightmares, also the black flame, because the black flame is connected to creation. The black flame is also something that is taking different shape. And if you understand the mercury as a metal, it is a liquid metal and it has no definite shape. Um, it's also something that is very hard to grasp. Like you can't contain it. Not that you would want to touch it, but you know, you can't get a hold of it because it's constantly changing. Um, Let me see if I can find out. Let's see. So these angels of Mercury, they were talking about the nature of the universe, and it was kind of a little bit of Lovecraft and a little bit of Hermeticism. Whereas Lovecraft believes in his world building that the whole universe is created from the mind of a creature that we cannot truly understand because we are all the dreams of that creature. Okay. So, um, these angels talked about this being called the eternal dreamer. And in the vision, when they showed me the eternal dreamer was entombed. They said that the eternal dreamer was dying. However, it was not something for us to worry about because our reality would not collapse because of it. The eternal dreamer is eternal. Therefore, death is just the end of a cycle in the beginning, the end and the beginning of a cycle. This dreamer reforms itself, and what it does is it brings on a new aeon. During this new aeon, a new constellation is created, and some of you who, I think it was the Beatles who talked of like the age of Aquarius. If you're familiar with Aleister Crowley, um, he talks about like, or I believe he talked about the Aeon of Ma'at, and so um, it makes sense that when the dreamer dies, an Aeon dies, and a new Aeon is created because a new dream starts, and these different Aeons are signified by using constellations. When a new constellation is born, new stars are born. These stars are different angels that usher in the new Aeon. Um, Now, this was literal in a sense where when it when it pertains to our reality, there are going to be people who are who realize what is going on. They're going to be aware of what they are and what's happening, and those people are going to usher in the new Aeon by coming to an understanding of what's going on and sharing that understanding with others. So, in a sense, they could be called angels because they would be inspiring and enlightening people. They would be the stars that would help people to navigate that new dream. Um, so yeah, it also pertains to Hermeticism, whereas the whole universe is mental. It's all created by thought. Um, and I thought that was very interesting that the angels of Wednesday would share that with me. Um, so Thursday is the energy of Jupiter that you work with. Thursday and Jupiter are supposed to be the first sphere that is recommended to work with in the book. The reason why this is because you need to establish your authority as a king, queen, or royal, however you want to put it. Now, when it came to this sphere, it helped me understand personally the kind of king that I was. Is. I don't know. Like, I'm in a constant state of flux. Therefore, I don't know if what I saw is definite. Okay. But with Jupiter, I was interacting with the intelligences And these intelligences were just people, various types of people from various ages. And with Jupiter, it helps you understand that you are an example. You have a responsibility. You are leading in a sense, in that the way that you live causes ripples through reality and causes a domino effect. Okay, if people see that you have power, they attribute what you do and the way you act to how you got your power. Therefore, if you are a person of power and you are kind and you are sharing, people will assume that you got your power by being kind and sharing. If you are a person of power who is cruel and selfish, people will assume that you got your power by being cruel and selfish. Therefore, when I had this vision where I was interacting with the community of Jupiter, it was in a way um, where things were peaceful, where things were about communication. So, and nobody was dismissed. I worked with children. I worked with adults. There was even an occasion where they brought someone who was possessed to me, and they were restraining this person. And instead of commanding and demanding the spirit come out of this person, I chose to talk to the spirit and have both the spirit as well as the possessed person understand why that relationship was not compatible. And instead of treating the spirit like it was a villain, helping the spirit to understand why this was not good, a good situation. It wasn't beneficial for either party, therefore, that interaction should be terminated. So it shows you, I felt like the energies of Jupiter show you your core of how you really want to run things, um, how you want the theme to be of your kingdom. Um, and that is, I feel, probably like the best way, in my opinion, how to interact, to communicate in order to efficiently get through things. Um, I don't really consider myself as more of a martial or like overly authoritative or dictative, person. And I do believe in interacting with all kinds of people because uh, I feel that when you understand other people's perspectives, then you understand more. So you gain more knowledge, you gain more wisdom, and you have the option of a different approach on life. Should you come to a situation where you have like different choices, having that knowledge gives you a different choice. Uh, so I feel like that is a positive way to apply Jupiter energy. Um, and also a very positive way of looking at things. Anyway, guys, um, so I've gone through the whole week with you. I've gone through the book. I hope that you got something positive out of it. I hope I wasn't ranting too hard, uh, and that I was able to explain things in a way that's easily understandable. Um, when it comes to angel magic in general, a lot of people think it's. I've heard people say that it's safer, and it's like, no. Um, you have the risk of obsession. You have the risk of misunderstanding a lot of different things. Um, and you run the risk of going through extremes that may cause you to do extreme things that may possibly be detrimental to yourself and others. Um, so always be aware and always be analytical about the things that you do and your experiences, whether you deal with the light or the dark. Okay, take the time to think instead of just jumping in and doing things. But don't take too much time to think, because then you'll cause yourself to become crazy. Um, I hope everybody is getting a proper appreciation of magic. A lot of the people that come to my channel are very special. Um, and so my desire is to always have a positive message or something inspiring for them. And just like to thank them for being here and for communicating with me. Whether it's to put me onto some knowledge, to check me and correct me, or just to kind of like give encouragement. Um, so that's cool. And I will talk to you guys later. Take care of yourselves.